I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's begin. And many people ask, how do I feel a feeling of an experience that I haven't had yet? Well, think about this. The number one feeling that we feel when our life begins to change, or we begin to have feedback from our environment that what we're doing inside of us is producing an effect outside of us, the most common emotion that we feel is a love for life, a joy for existence, grateful, a real deep sense of gratitude. Now think about the emotional signature of gratitude. The emotional signature of gratitude means that something has already happened. When you receive something, or when you're given something, or you are in the process of receiving or have received it, you give thanks. So the moment you start feeling this emotion of appreciation and thankfulness, you will automatically say thank you, which means I've just received something. I'm acknowledging that I'm receiving it from you. So most people live their lives waiting for something outside of them to change how they feel inside of them. They're waiting for their new relationship. They're waiting for their new job. They're waiting for their new mystical moment to occur before they feel the emotions. So basically, they're spending the majority of their time waiting and not creating, living in lack, living in emptiness, living in fear, waiting for that external event to take away their emptiness or pain. That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect. Turns out, though, the moment you're feeling that lack, you tend to try harder and force and control and try to predict or manipulate the outer world, because you're doing everything you can because you're experiencing a separation or polarity from what you want. You're waiting for it to happen and not creating. So then, two things. When you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, a heart-centered emotion, not the emotions of survival that are anger and hostility and aggression and competition or hatred or envy or jealousy or insecurity or fear or anxiety or pain or suffering or guilt or shame. Those are derived from the hormones of stress. An elevated emotion is a heart-centered emotion. And a heart-centered emotion lacks polarity. This is the center of oneness. This is the center of wholeness. This is the union of opposites. This is our connection, our bridge to the quantum field. This is where we connect. So think about it. When you begin to feel a heart-centered emotion, what you're doing is you're falling in love with your life. So your body is your unconscious mind. It does not know the difference between an experience that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're creating by thought alone. Your body is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now think about this. The latest research on genes says the environment signals the gene. Well, the end product of an experience in the environment is called an emotion. So when you begin to embrace the emotion ahead of the actual experience, you're signaling the gene ahead of the environment. And now you're beginning to instruct and select new genes that make new proteins. And proteins are responsible for the structure and function of your body. So you're literally becoming your dream. You're literally becoming it. So when you feel that emotion, you tend to be less interested in looking around outside of you of how it's going to happen. If you're walking around conditioning your body every day to feel that emotion, that you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life and you're worthy to receive and you're open and you're inspired and you're optimistic and you're enthusiastic and you're feeling that emotion, you feel like your future has already happened. So you're less likely to feel lack or separation. Now think about this. Point number 2. Once energy makes it to this center and you feel gratitude, that center begins to produce a measurable magnetic field. That's a frequency, that's energy, and all frequency carries information. So now you can lay the thought of your new relationship on that frequency, and now you're broadcasting a whole new electromagnetic signature into the field. So then the longer you're conscious of that energy, the more you're calling your future to you. When this center is opened up, you're connected to the quantum field. Mm-hmm. So now you don't have to go anywhere to get it, to try to force it or control it or predict it. In fact, you're the magnet. you're collapsing time and space, and the event is being drawn to you, and it comes in synchronicities and serendipities and coincidences, opportunities. Now, the antithesis is also true. The moment you feel angry because you're in traffic, the moment you judge your coworker because all of a sudden they push an emotional button, the moment you feel sorry for yourself, victimized or self-pity, you're now emitting a different energy. In fact, you're back to the energy of your past, and you just disconnected from your future. So then people's dreams stay at arm's length from them. So people ask me all the time, well, how come my new relationship hasn't happened? And I tell them the same thing. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you want in a new relationship, and then become that person. Mm-hmm. Because the question fundamentally is, would you go out with you? So if the answer is you're starting to love yourself so much that you no longer need another person, or you're no longer in lack, then you magnetize an equal. It just happens as a side effect. And it doesn't happen in ways that you can predict. It happens in different ways. So, the emotions of gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, a love for life, a joy for existence, worthy to receive, inspired and enthusiastic to be alive, looking forward and in excitement and anticipation to the unknown, staying in that energy without analyzing. That's the energy that allows the unknown to begin to occur. So what you're doing is you're teaching your body emotionally what that future feels like. And when you're in a state of gratitude, you're in the perfect state to receive the fruits of your efforts. So many people want one thing with their conscious mind. I want a new job, I want a new career, I want a new life. And yet their subconscious mind has been programmed. Now think about a program. When you create a program, it's automatic. When you create a program, it runs. So the person is, with their 5% of their conscious mind, is having this desire for something, and yet their subconscious mind is doing something else. As an example, I used to take my oldest son golfing with me. And he used to say to me when we were on the fairway, I'm really worried about hitting that tree. And I would say to him, what tree? Because if you're worried about hitting that tree, what is the imagery that your brain is creating? You're worried about not hitting it. You're doing that with your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind is creating the picture of you actually hitting the tree. That's why you're saying it. So the subconscious is 95%, so more than likely your body is going to do exactly what it's programmed to do. So what's the relevance of that? Well, people say I want wealth, but they're programmed into being unworthy and lacking, right? So then as they begin to do the meditative work and they start opening their heart, I was just talking to someone yesterday. When you open the center, things are going to sift to the top. All the programs are going to come right up. And when they come up like that, you're going to see why it isn't manifesting in your life. Now, don't see it as like, why is this happening? Did I do something wrong? The subconscious is actually venting. There's a certain period of time in the early mornings where we vent our anxieties. We vent our fears. It's the way the subconscious goes, let's just have this dream and let's just get it over with. So the subconscious is saying, what if you hit the tree? What if you're actually going to hit the tree? You're going to hit the tree because that's exactly the imagery you have when you're trying to create something. You're saying, I really want this because I'm really afraid of dying. I'm really afraid of failure. I'm really afraid of rejection, right? So the person is subconsciously and unconsciously creating the imagery that's actually being revealed to them. So how do we change that? Well, really simple. We got to start rehearsing like a new way. We got to start getting into those deep brainwave states, getting beyond the analytical mind, slowing our brainwaves down, getting into the operating system, and start reprogramming. Okay, so when this happens, these are the things I'm going to do. These are the things I'm going to do to create that, and start rehearsing those steps, priming and reprogramming the brain into a new outcome. So I have had that many years in my life, but I always have seen it as a strong sign, a strong symbol that I got something switched in my brain. I could say that people say I want to be healthy. Yeah, it's 5% of your conscious mind, but you set them at the dinner table and they're breaking all the rules of everything they said. So why does that happen? Because the program is running and they've lost their free will to a program. So now, that's important because your subconscious is talking to you. Now you got to get in there. You got to get in there and start rehearsing that you're going to step away from the table, that you're not going to eat after a certain hour, that you're going to make better choices, and rehearse them and remember what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Now you begin to, on a fundamental level, begin to rewrite the script, begin to rewrite the program. And over time, if you make one or two new choices and restrain some old choices, you'll tend to make more better choices after you make a few, because you'll start feeling the satisfaction of your efforts. So don't see it as like doing something wrong. It's just that the mind is polarized. And people will say that they want something, but the subconscious is saying, look, this is really what's happening. So get in there now. Now you have the information to begin to unlearn those subconscious programs and begin to rewrite some new ones.